Bitcoin has been absolutely boring, let's see. For 6 damn months, $60,000. For the love of God, will September bring something new, please? The Bitcoin people, if you're watching, CEO of Bitcoin, I call on you. Pump the price. All jokes aside, what do we expect from September for BTC as the price continues to dwindle around $60,000? Who's bearish and who's bullish for the month of September? On today's show, we have Forrest joining us. We're going to get his take. You'll get mine and Robin, and we'll ask Rocco for his take as well. Also, we'll take a look at a big bank that is looking to offer exposure to Bitcoin to their clients. We have some news on Cardano as a Chang hard fork is set to go live on Monday. What does that mean? Should we see a weekend pump from Cardano? Is it a good time to maybe put a long position in if you're a trader? We're also going to talk about Solana. If meme coins fade, is Solana a dead chain? We'll have that discussion with our friend Forrest. Take a look at the markets and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto.
Hola! It's your boy, Big Rob, back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. For the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel, we take that old, boring, and stale information and repackage that thing up in a fun, we're going to 90K kind of way.
Well, now you know who's the
Oh,
the
man.
guy
You know
here.
what? I know there's a feeling in the air.
Man, it's last
There's a
chance, man.
There's a feeling in the air, and every time this feeling happens, every time the narrative, when this happens, it always surprises you, right?
Wow.
Every time you're in a bear market and you're like, man, this can't get any worse. You know what? How low can it go? Is this the bottom? Is crypto dead? And then you're like, is the bull market over? 60,000 in February, 60,000 in March, April, May, June, July, August. And everyone is exiting the arena, but yet you go to
Here's
overtime
one
in the
guy-
last second, and
here's
we're
one
going
guy-
to 90K, baby.
And there's one guy that won't leave after the game is
I'm
over. And that's
telling you.
Robin.
How you know it happens so many times. You when have you
Sir,
you know
the
when you
game's been
sold
over
When
for
you-
3 hours. You need to leave, sir.
So look, you know it's very common to hold some kind of asset, hold some crypto, hold some stock. You got it for so long. You've been looking at it for years in the portfolio, and you're like, you know what? This thing is not I'm out of here. I'm missing out on gains all over the place. You sell the second you hit that sell button. What happens? Giant green candle
That is
pops
actually
up,
very true.
smacks you in the face.
That is very
And that's because the sentiment of the market is just done. And then that's when smart money comes in and manipulates, buys at an opportune time. I think that people are falling asleep on Bitcoin. They are not putting in the long positions, which, and maybe we start seeing some short positions. Maybe people are just falling asleep at the wheel. And I think that what you're going to see is that the smart money is going to take advantage. Smart money is going to buy. Summer is over. People are coming back from the Hamptons. They're sitting back in their office chair. They're pulling the trigger on the buys. And 90K, here we come. And I got facts, evidence, and data analytics to back all of this up.
I
It's
highly
not a
doubt.
crazy theory.
I highly
Rob Stradamus
Okay.
has spoken. 90K, here we go.
No. Forrest, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for
The-
having me on.
Guy here thinks 90K in September. I disagree. I don't think 90K in September. I think that's more likely in October. I think September is going to be another snooze fest. And we'll see a little run up leading up to the September 18th Fed meeting and then back down. I think we'll get lows of around 50, maybe sub 50K. And then everyone's going to get lulled to sleep. Yes. Then everyone's going to get lulled to sleep and panic. And then end of September through October, just like face melting rallies up to 90K for us. Where do you land on this? 90K September. You got Guy over here, and then you got me.
I think we get more chop in through September. I do think we'll probably get a squeeze up to like 65 to 67K at some point. And we'll see if we crash again after that. But I do my base case is that we drift and chop up towards the range highs again as we approach the election. And I do think that there's a chance in October, if the stars align in October for us, especially like early to mid October, that we could break out from our range highs and maybe see the 80, 90K sometime by mid to late October.
You hear that, Robin? Mid to late October. What else happens in October? Fiscal year resets. When's that 14 billion going to be accessible from FTX for us? You talk about this all the time. You said December.
I think December, if I'm not mistaken.
Just to be clear, that is people getting back dollars, not their crypto to sell, but they're getting back dollars, correct?
Yep.
What do you expect to happen for us when people get those dollars?
Yeah, I think if we're in a decent space, like in terms of like the market is looking pretty bullish, I think a lot of it will flow into crypto. Now, I have seen some things that there are like as far as like individual customers, like degen customers, it's closer to like 1 to 3 billion versus 14. Like and a lot of like the other 14 is going to like large asset managers that may not be able to even, they may be bankrupt, they may not be able to just degen that right back in. But there's like a solid couple billion, I think, that is going into the hands of like individual investors. So yeah, I think if the market's looking bullish, if we're in an uptrend, that's going to get piled into the market in a big way. I mean, you know, why wouldn't it? If things are just like bearish, then it's tough.
And we'll be post-election. So
Yep.
hopefully if Kamala doesn't win, I'm just going to say it. We're hoping Trump wins. It'll be better for crypto.
Yeah, if you're in crypto, like that's pretty fair.
Yeah,
no one can blame you.
Try to stay away from personal politics, but I'm hoping Trump wins. I want that dude to win. I think it'd be better for crypto. And then, so I want to share this. So this is monthly returns for BTC. It's a little hard to tell here, but you can see August. Of course, we still have a day left, today and tomorrow. But if unless we see a big rally, we're going to close August down, right? So that will be the third red month so far this year for Bitcoin. And September historically has been the worst month. From Ali Charts, if you think August was tough, keep in mind September often brings negative returns as well, with your average return at average and median right around 5% negative returns. And so historically, September, getting to the end of the fiscal year, not only for the government, for a lot of companies as well. Are they going to trim? Are they going to sell assets? We know there's going to be a lot of speculation about the CPI number, the jobs report number, the unemployment rate, Fed rate cuts. What's the market going to do? Are investors in Wall Street going to pile into treasuries knowing that those 5% yields are going away probably for a very, very long time? Who knows? But then you look at October. On average, has brought us 22.9% returns. But that's not even the biggest month. The biggest month is the one right after that one, which is November, which brings you an average of 46% returns. And Robin decides to pick September to say that we're going to break all-time highs plus 20%. So we have that. I'll stop there. Any comments? Robin, what do you say to the stats here? This time different?
Okay.
This time is different?
Every time is different. So listen here. Now, at the same time, yes, cycles do repeat. Yes, there is trends. There is historical data that keeps repeating itself. I agree. At the same time, every cycle you see a little bit of a variation. You see something different. We saw a double top, and in 2017 we saw a single top. And so why do I think we're going to buck the trend? Well, if you were to look at the cycles and you were to say, hey, you know what? In October, it's always red. November, or not, excuse me, in September, it's always red. And October is always a green month. Well, take into account that this cycle started earlier. The all-time high got hit prior to the halving. We started the bull market way before we were expecting it to. And this was because of the ETF. And so for me, I look at it like I think everything is going to come a little earlier because the all-time high came earlier. So I do think that this pump that we're expecting to see in the latter half of the year or at the tail end of the year, where you would expect to see November, December have very, very green months and that parabolic run up, I think that because we got kicked off earlier, we're going to see that next stage of the bull market come earlier as well. And that's not just some theory, and there's also numbers and analytics to back it up as well. So for me, I like to take a look here. You have USA elections. And so you can see that right at the election, which we know is drawing to an end, it's coming closer. We're less than 100 days away. And we know that the narrative for Bitcoin is now a talking point amongst candidates. We got a debate coming up here in September. And so, will crypto be something that is asked at a debate? I think it's plausible. I think it's starting to become more and more likely. We saw in some promotional material that's been released by the Trump campaign that there was a little snippet of a Bitcoin conference image there as well.
Don't forget his new NFTs. He's holding
He's
some
got it.
Bitcoins.
I'm just saying that I wouldn't. I think that because we're getting very little conversation out of Kamala Harris when it comes to policy. I think that, I think that you might be able to get an answer out of her when it comes to policy and direction. If they ask about crypto, we know that the last debate with Biden and Trump, that was prior to his conference attendance or his keynote speech at Bitcoin conference. And so I just look at it like, hey, now he's come out and taken a very vocal stance on crypto. Kamala Harris is supposedly Harris for crypto. I don't know. I think they might talk about it. So you got that coming up, and I'm telling you, I think that you get Bitcoin and crypto as a discussion point or question or narrative at the next debate. And how groundbreaking would that be for our space?
You do realize that chart shows that.
I know it's got more consolidation before the breakout. I understand that, and we are starting this thing off earlier, and I think that narrative of Bitcoin with the election and then debate, I think, is going to come in September in this next debate. Also, You got Wells Fargo, one of the three largest banks here in the U.S., pitching Bitcoin ETF to clients starting in September. So, we've seen this. This isn't the only bank doing it as well. We know that there is a host of banks,
Morgan Stanley did
that are now promoting and suggesting the Bitcoin ETF.
Here's my thing, though. Morgan Stanley did that, and price didn't do anything. So what makes you think Wells Fargo?
They just started, bro. Calm down. And then you also have, then you have the hash rate. And so as the hash price, which is here indicated in the orange, dips, we see usually a big price rally as well. The compliments of Cryptos RS, George, our friend there, friend of the channel. But I'm expecting, everything's lining up. But I think at the end of the day, my base case is that this cycle has kicked off earlier than expected. And I think that the next stage of the bull market will happen earlier than expected. And look at all of those months at 60K, this consolidation. We know what happens, especially in a large macro trend, like in a bear market or in a bull market. If you consolidate at a certain price range for a long period of time, the breakout is that much more significant. And you know what? We've been at 60,000 for a historically long time. And so I think that the breakout.
You just got to add one more month to it, September.
Yeah. I want to know what the chat thinks. Join us in this conversation. We'll highlight a couple people in the chat. Do you think it's more likely? David said sub 50,000. So do you think that Bitcoin in September will hit 40,000 and change, or do you think that Bitcoin in September will hit 90,000? I'm curious. Put a 1 in the chat if you think we'll hit 40,000.
In the 40s.
In the 40s, and put a 2 in the chat if you think that Bitcoin will get to 90,000 at some point this month. I want to know, where do you lie?
Forrest, any thoughts on? Forrest, any thoughts on? Sorry, any thoughts on what Robin kind of pointed out and said there? Yeah, feel free to.
Yeah,
feel
so
free
this
to completely,
Yeah, so this has been the cycle of front running. The halving was kind of front run a little bit. Everything's been left translated in terms of happening just a little bit sooner. So yeah, I could see it. I actually do think like September's potentially shaping up to be a really solid month. The idea that September's historically bad is kind of less relevant. If you look at the data, it's less relevant during election years. Still not like a crazy great month across the board during election years, but there's plenty of election years if you go back to like all the way back to like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s in equities in the S&P 500, where you'll actually see like during election years, there's been plenty of positive September months. So if there's ever a year to disregard the September slump idea, it's probably this election year. Also,
But Forrest, real quick,
Mm-hmm.
not to cut you off, but like, sure, we've seen 3 out of the last 11 Septembers, or 3 out of the last 14 Septembers be positive. But the biggest gain we got was 6%, which was in 2016.
right. But so in the same time, have you ever had like that's a fairly limited sample set of data. If we actually pull from equities and say Bitcoin's more in line with equities, or somewhat correlated with equities and risk assets in general, we can go back and grab more data. We can go back to the 30s and 40s and 50s with looking at September's historically for equities. And the big reason for why Bitcoin slumps in September is because equities slump in September. So historically, equities slump in September, but not during election years. The other thing is we've never had Bitcoin or a situation where Bitcoin's gone through an election cycle where it's actually a central issue. It's like a huge, like the outcome of this, and people say, we don't need, Bitcoin doesn't need one party to win. Bitcoin doesn't need politics. Bitcoin doesn't need Trump to win. Yeah, the network is still going to run just fine, regardless of who wins. But if you're looking at price, there's a very, very big difference in the United States getting a strategic Bitcoin reserve where they target buying 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years. There's a very massive difference in the impact on price that will have versus the alternative of not having that. So going back to the idea of September, usually with catalyst events, usually like with the ETF, with a halving, with Ethereum merge, usually you bottom about 90 days out, and then you start to see ramped up speculation starting about 30 to 60 days out. Well, September is essentially 60 days out from the election, 65. And you get into that sweet spot of speculation where people that want to speculate on Bitcoin, on Trump getting elected and Bitcoin doing really well as a result of that, and maybe getting a strategic reserve, that's usually the optimal time to start placing that bet. And I think like there's just a decent chance that September just ignores the historical trend of being a down month, and we Robin's right, and we get a left translated front run move out of Bitcoin.
So you're agreeing with Robin, to be clear here.
I'm not to the extent of 90K in September, but I do think like we could have a very positive September and set up for a bigger move in early October.
So your vote is more likely 90K versus more likely 40s.
And then also to pull up your historical, so pull up your historical chart there that you had. You have, so in February, because of the ETF, we saw a historic surplus in the price, or historic rally in the price. So 43%. We hadn't seen anything like that since 2013 at Bitcoin's infancy. And then, if you were to look at the last cycle, July and August both saw gains in over 10%. And so we went.
What year is that? 2021.
So 2021, July and August, 18%, 13%. This July, we had 2%. We were down almost 10% in August. And so, are we going to make up those gains? Because in October in 2021, we saw 40% rally. And so what I think is going to happen is that we're going to make that 40% or 30 plus percent. I think that comes in September, a little earlier. And so, will we get 30% in 1 month in October, or will we get 30% in 1 month in September? I think I'm eyeing September, and it's just simply off of the market sentiment, and that people are giving up on Bitcoin. And when I see that everyone around here is getting tired of the price action, that's when people fall asleep at the wheel, and we see these big breakouts. So that's I'm not wrong often.
Yeah, okay.
So
The chat agrees with me. I saw a lot of ones in there. Also, we had a $5 super chat from Critcat. Said the more Kamala cackles, the lower Bitcoin goes. True. All right, let's talk about this here. This actually might make the case for Robin, but regardless, we share the information. Bitcoin reserves on exchanges hit the lowest point of the year. This sharp decrease in reserves may suggest that the selling pressure on Bitcoin is subsiding, potentially setting the stage for a bullish trend if demand for the cryptocurrency continues to grow. So, sure, we're mining less Bitcoin. Yes, good for supply, right? Low exchange reserves. Yes, good for supply. But supply does not move the price. Demand moves the price. So unless you think we're going to see a massive surge of demand for Bitcoin, it's going to be sideways or down. So we'll see how that turns out. Then we have this. A Bloomberg study reports that crypto owners are more likely to have psychopathic traits. Crypto owners are more likely to have psychopathic traits. They name some of them narcissism, whatever else they said. And, I'm like, the media typically, something happens that which is against their narrative, and then they start pushing out bullshit articles. They did it with RFK. RFK joined the Trump campaign. He's been talking about how ultra-processed foods are absolutely terrible. Time magazine, a year ago, put out an article saying ultra-processed foods could be killing you. A week after he joins Trump's campaign, they put out an article, why ultra-processed foods might not be as bad. So I read this article, this headline, I'm like, what could have possibly happened? Well, I might have an answer for you. Let's watch this video.
Now, a few years ago, former President Trump called Bitcoin a scam. But just last month, he spoke at the year's biggest Bitcoin conference and praised Bitcoin, comparing it to the steel industry a century ago. A great story on CNBC.com today about how Trump went from skeptic to believer. And joining us is a reporter behind the story, Mackenzie Sigalis. Mac, welcome.
Hey, Tyler. So for months now, I've been talking to the people who have quietly been helping to orchestrate Donald Trump's total about-face on crypto behind closed doors. The former president's 180 on digital tokens goes back to at least March. Now, that is when 3 Bitcoiners living in Puerto Rico got in touch with the Trump team and joined a chorus of voices, a group that includes Trump's family and friends, that has been actively pushing pro-crypto talking points. We're talking secret meetings at Trump Tower in Nashville and Mar-a-Lago, plus a slew of sideline fundraising events. Now, all in, they have promised him $100 million and 5 million votes. They've raised 25 million so far, and I'm told that an updated fundraising figure is coming my way soon. Now, Trump is listening, leaning into increasingly pro-Bitcoin talk on the campaign trail. People telling me that he's been learning as experts have explained that the industry is real and not overrun with criminal activities. But there's also the matter of all that cash being raised and donated by crypto executives and businesses. In fact, almost half of all corporate money raised this cycle is from crypto. They're outspending big.
Over half of all corporate money raised for the election is crypto. And some argue, why are we raising all this money? Well, some argue the stakes have never been higher. And so, gentlemen, I'll go to Forrest first. What are your thoughts? The amount of money that is being spent from the crypto side on this election, it's obviously put us on the radar of a lot of politicians, a lot of parties, apparently not the Democratic Party so much, but still. What are your thoughts on that, Forrest, and the video that they kind of talked about, and how much influence crypto has had in fundraising and potentially in this election moving forward in November?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's the difference in, I think the election outcome is the difference in a bull market or not, quite frankly. I mean, it's the difference between having, the same SEC regime that we've had punishing crypto for the last, however long. There's not a lot of pro-Bitcoin or pro-crypto sentiment from one party, and then the other party wants to make a strategic reserve. It wants to buy 5% of the supply of Bitcoin. Like, I don't think that people fully grasp how absolutely insanely bullish that is for an asset. Imagine if the any asset, like imagine if the government decided, "Oh, we're going to buy 5% of the supply of Apple stock tomorrow." Apple stock would go through the roof. It would be up 50% by the end of the day. Like it is so absurdly bullish. So I think it's just the difference is so stark that if you want a crypto bull market, like yeah, and you're in crypto, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense to spend a lot of money on campaigning for pro crypto policies. Yeah, it's a very stark difference, one versus the other.
Rob, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's just interesting because,
With
got our favorite
Bitcoin,
lady.
There's no backs it up. And that's what makes it different. It's just belief. You and I assess. You assess the value is going to go down. I assess it's going to go up, and therefore I buy.
So it's more like this artwork.
No, because at the end of the day, I can hang that thing on my wall.
Right.
And I can enjoy it,
But you
or
could
I
sell
can
it.
throw darts at it.
You could sell it for money.
Sure you can. I mean, there are features about it that are the same, but it's not the same. And look, one of the things we have to remember there are a lot of things that come within this crypto world. So, for example, we could be talking about, instead of Bitcoin, we could be talking about digital currency. Now, that's something very different.
I think that's different too. I buy that. I accept that.
That's right, because that's a government-backed electronic transfer. And it can be
CBDC, baby.
denominated in dollars. It could be denominated in euros. It could be denominated.
It's just funny how like sentiment changes with certain people and they stay the same with certain people, because Orange Man got orange pilled. Elizabeth Warren is holding her high horse on this crypto is,
That was a while ago, though.
That was last year. But yeah, I mean, she had another interview this year as well where she was talking about, or early in the year where she was talking about the fraud. She had the congressional hearing where she was discussing the Bitcoin mining. I think she had that one.
To win a Bitcoin reward. You may remember that at this same hearing a year ago, I asked you about the immense energy consumption of Bitcoin mining. Since then, the issue has aroused more public concern. A recent New York Times investigation found that just 34 Bitcoin mines in the U.S. are using as much electricity as 3 million households. That is the equivalent of the entire state of Arizona or the entire state of Tennessee.
Crazy.
Little do they mention all the positive things Bitcoin mining does, like building new infrastructure, like all that methane that's released into the atmosphere that they can't do anything about. They harness that and they use that to power.
Or just
or they
simply-
use more than 50% renewable energy, or that they give people jobs, or not talking about
It's just interesting how politics is taking sides in crypto, and it was a scenario where it was one-sided, right? Nobody was out here advocating for crypto outside of maybe Cynthia Lummis, and that was still relatively new. I mean, she started becoming outspoken in 2020 or 2021, and so it's only been a few years where we've had anybody supporting crypto from politics, and now this tidal wave is changing. You're getting 50% of campaign donations from crypto companies. You have keynote speakers, 2 of the candidates for the presidential election speaking at the world's largest conference for Bitcoin. And so you see that politics is now here to stay in crypto. And, whether you like it or not, maybe you want
as long as we keep raising a lot of money for them, right?
I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, if you thought that crypto was going to become a multi-trillion-dollar asset and rival gold, and you thought that smart money wasn't going to come in and try to make profits on it, I mean, you're in la la land, right? And so that was always going to be a thing. And now, I mean, it's the passing of the baton, right? We went from people mining on their laptops to now companies mining, and then now all of a sudden you got institutions investing, the MicroStrategies, the SpaceX and Tesla, and now the next stage is nation state adoption. And I think that it's inevitable, right? You agree that nations are at some point going to start holding Bitcoin, right?
Yes.
I mean, the U.S. already has, 3 or 400,000 Bitcoin.
200,000.
Is it?
Not by choice, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that, and not by choice, but they could have just immediately sold it, right?
They can't because it's still tied up in lawsuits.
No. But either way.
Yeah, but they can still, moving forward, they can choose to hold it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's some percentage that they could have liquidated immediately, even though some of it's tied up. But I think that other countries are going to join the Bitcoin network. And I think that the US is going to be the big headline move. And I think Trump.
I mean, they got the money printer, so why not, right?
Yeah.
Before we move forward, I do want to give a big thank you to today's channel sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Cam's Blue Wire Technology, the crystal clear 4K stream you are watching on your device right now would not be possible without Cam's. They're our IT partner. If you run a business and want to maximize your networking, IT, and cybersecurity, visit BlueWireTech.com or click the link in the description of this video. Forrest, I want to ask you about this. So you posted this. This Bitcoin dominance trend has been so strong that once it does break, it'll be time to get reckless again. And you, my friend, believe that XRP will be the top performer among large cap altcoins. Why?
Yeah, so essentially, I think we only get a bull market if Trump wins. To be quite frank, like I think like I said, the outcomes are very, very different between the two parties with regards to Bitcoin's next step. Like last cycle was all about Bitcoin on people on Tesla's balance sheet, MicroStrategy adoption of Bitcoin, institutional adoption of Bitcoin, and that was kind of the theme that drove this. And this cycle, if we're going to get a big, parabolic move out of crypto again, I think it's got to be government adoption of Bitcoin, and that's the ultimate step for Bitcoin. So for Bitcoin to do extraordinarily well and for crypto as a whole to do extraordinarily well, I think Trump needs to win. I think we need a strategic reserve for Bitcoin. I think we need Gary Gensler fired. I think we need this anti-crypto SEC regime to be ousted. And if that's the case, then I think Bitcoin dominance will finally be able to break down. I think people will finally be willing to restore faith in the crypto market and be willing to invest in altcoins and utility projects that have just been destroyed. Like OpenSea just got a Wells notice from the SEC. How ridiculous is that? Uniswap, Wells notice from the SEC. You can't do rev share or anything. Like the whole crypto industry based in the US is just completely hindered by the current SEC regime. So that getting out of the way on the back of a strategic reserve for Bitcoin, I think creates a massive bull market. And I look at what is the single biggest coin, or what is the token or the coin or the project that has been most negatively affected by the current SEC regime. I just gave Uniswap as an example. The NFT market maybe has already been really majorly down, but now they're going after OpenSea, which is just ridiculous. But if you zoom out and look at the big picture, the one coin that has been suppressed the most, and whether you like the fundamentals of the project, or you call it a project, whether you like the fundamentals of the coin or not, it's XRP. XRP has been suppressed and damaged the most by a 4+ year court case with the SEC that is finally potentially coming to a conclusion on the back of maybe the current SEC regime being ousted by through the election of Donald Trump, on the back of potentially Bitcoin having a massive run if the government buys 1 million Bitcoin over the course of five years. So I just think that XRP is very, very suppressed. And if we get the bull scenario, then it has the most upside based on it being suppressed the most over the course of the last 4+ years of this SEC regime. So, yeah, I mean, that's essentially the thesis for XRP.
Rocco, do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I want to show this per request from our friend RustyBot. I want to take a look at the ETF flows for BTC. Last 3 days, no bueno. 127 million in outflows on Tuesday, 105 million on Wednesday, and yesterday we saw $71 million of outflows. This might be adjustment, but we know that when Wall Street and these ETF holders, right, these companies, these hedge funds, when they allocate a certain percentage, they adjust. So if price goes down and it now represents a smaller percentage, they're going to buy more to bring that percentage up. And so as Bitcoin dips, especially during Monday through Friday, we should see some buying. So it'll be interesting to see what inflows look like next week, but have been read over the last 3 days. And outside of Monday, every day this week has been outflows for the Bitcoin ETF. With that being said, Forrest, if you want to tee up a Bitcoin chart, I'll take a look at the markets here. Bitcoin rebounding a little bit, up 1.5% over the last 1 hour, coming in at 59.2. I'll stop there for us. We can take a look at a Bitcoin chart. Obviously, we know we've been chopping sideways. What? Are you seeing anything on your damn chart that says anything about where we're headed to next?
Yeah. So I think right now in this choppy regime, you just have to be mark out key levels of support and resistance and be willing to be open to up or down within the confines of the range. So I use margin pressure levels. I'm not going to walk through how they work, but essentially they just highlight areas where incentives shift in the market for leveraged traders, and we know this market's super leveraged. So I've got marked out here 54 to 55K. I think that is a very, very big buy level if Bitcoin gives it. If Bitcoin gives 54 to 55K, I think you shut your eyes and buy. It was our low over here, kind of creates this weird inverse head and shoulders where we're defending this level. This becomes a nice structural level where we would have seen support, and it's just a nice rebound level going into October. So if it gives 54 to 55K, I'm a buyer. There's some big margin pressure levels there. The second level that, earlier in my live stream, I said, 3x long margin pressure level, 57.8 is a good level to bid. We came down to that level a couple hours ago, and we've since bounced roughly $1,400 on Bitcoin just off of, this level being a big level for buyers to come in. This is the level, right? To kind of elucidate a little bit, this is the level where you can start buying on 3x leverage and maintain a liquidation point below our post ETF low, which was a big low at 38.5. So that's a very big, strong level. And we also have this 4x short margin pressure level at 59K. So you combine those two things, and it's been a very strong level. We've already held it as support over here. We held it as support there, support there, support there. So it's been a supportive level so far. And there's kind of two paths. Like I'm baseline, bullish in the base case is that we do see some movement upwards into the election and into October. The question is, this is our low. Let's say our low is set. It's going to be the bear case for Bitcoin here is pretty rough. Like, the kitchen sink has been thrown at Bitcoin. You've had Germany selling. You've had Mt. Gox distributions, which have been a decade long, it's been 10 years in the making. Everyone has been worried about Bitcoin crashing with Mt. Gox distributions for a very long time. Finally, Mt. Gox distributions are pretty much over. You had Genesis distributions and liquidations. You had Jump Trading distributions and liquidations. Then you had the Japanese yen carry, a black swan event. VIX, the volatility index for the S&P 500 went to the third highest of all time. COVID and the great financial crisis of 07-08 were the last times VIX were that high or even a little bit higher. The Japanese yen carry trade was a black swan event. So if you're bearish on Bitcoin here going below 49, you're betting on another black swan, like back-to-back black swan events and like full-on recession hitting, here in the short term. Not saying it can't happen. It's just the bear case for me. I think the low is set. Then we look at market structure: high, higher, high, low, higher, low, potentially into our support region. If we bounce here and we get above 61.5, I think we're off to the races. I think we go and tag 65, 67, potentially put in another higher high, and then we can get some nice market structure moving up into October and the election. Alternatively, the other case, the bull case that brings us down to 54 first is this is our low, and our macro longer term higher low is 54, 55. And then we can go up and tackle 50, 66, 67, right? So these are I don't know the path we take to get there. All I know is two things. I'm bidding 57.8, 57.8K to 58K, right? And we're bouncing there so far. And I'm bidding 54.55 because I think that if I'm right about my underlying thesis for Bitcoin, moving up into the election, I think we're going to have an opportunity to sell at 65, 67, and maybe even at range highs. And maybe if we have a really solid October, higher up, above, all-time highs later in October. So the two levels to reiterate, 54 to 55K, I'm happy to buy. And then 58, essentially 58 to 59, I'm happy to be a buyer. And then just beware if you're waiting for more momentum to hop into the market or you're looking for a trade setup, I would wait for a reclaim of this level. This is another set of margin pressure levels. 61 to 61.5 has been a pain to get through. There's quite a heavy resistance level. And if we get through it and we turn it into support, then I think we have clearance to go pop up again to 65 or 66 to 67. So I would wait for a reclaim of this if you missed the opportunity to bid in this region today.
Awesome, Forrest. I'm going to go to the rest of the markets real quick. And I want you guys' takes here. So looking at the top 10, ETH is up 3% on the 1 hour. So pretty big move up to $2,534. Solana up 2.5% at $137. XRP up 1% on the 1 hour at 55 cents. Doge sub 10 cents. Tron, 16-cent Tron in the top 10. Outperforming or getting ahead of Toncoin. Speaking of Toncoin, after those two outages and the whole Telegram CEO getting locked up, $5.31. Forrest, in the top 10 outside of Bitcoin, which of these altcoins is the most undervalued for the next big move up? I know you talked about XRP, so maybe exclude that one. Is it Ethereum at $2,500 with the ETF and with the RWA narrative? And I'll just go ahead and share this. Ethereum is the top chain for RWA sector, right? A sector that I think all three of us believe is going to be pretty big this cycle, holding 73% of market share. Also, the only layer one that BlackRock has funded is Ethereum. Is it that? Is it Solana at sub 140? Is it Doge, just now crossing 10 cents? Or is it Toncoin? A lot of exciting things are happening on Toncoin. And then we saw the arrest of Pavel and the network going down. Which of these do you think is the most undervalued as far as which one can you get the most gains from when the market turns and we see the next big pump?
In my opinion, like you said, definitely XRP, but excluding XRP, I would go, if you're wanting to be just a little bit safer, I just go with Bitcoin, to be quite honest. Bitcoin dominance is trending up really, really hard. And I think until Bitcoin dominance stops trending upwards, you probably want to be a little bit wary about alts. That said, I do think that the tides, in the event that Bitcoin drives up to an all-time high pre-election, in the kind of the more bullish scenario that I outlined, then I do think that ETH and potentially even Dogecoin have an opportunity to outperform. I think Dogecoin is the long that you take after Bitcoin breaks all-time high. When Bitcoin has cleared 73K, then I think the rotation is into Dogecoin as bait on Bitcoin and people getting into altcoins. Ethereum is a really tough bet to make right now. It is very beat up and it is showing signals of maybe wanting to bottom against Bitcoin. The ETH Bitcoin ratio, again, it's been dragged down through the mud. If you want a cleaner long on Ethereum, you look for it to get it back up above 2,800 and reclaim 2,800. But you could make a case for ETH here. Solana is my least favorite right now, and it may come back as a big outperformer.
Why is that?
Looking at Solana versus Ethereum, looking at Solana versus Bitcoin, the chart looks a little bit toppy right now. And it's not that I hate Solana. I don't. Been a big fan of Solana. I just think that it's at risk of not outperforming for the rest of the cycle. It's had a big boost, and we're starting to see attention go to like Tron. Like a lot of people are playing the meme coin game on Tron now. Tron to me is too sketchy. Amazing chart, really strong chart, but I just refuse to touch it because of all the sketchy stuff with Justin Sun and all the rehypothecation, and it just gives you gives you a little bit of worry that if ever there was another Terra Luna situation in crypto, it'd probably be on Tron. So I tend to just stay away from Tron, despite the phenomenal chart.
What about you, Robin?
On which one? Solana, Tron?
No. Just out of the top 10, which one's going to bring you the most gains when the market pumps next?
I don't know, man. I still am very, very bullish on Cardano. It was just earlier this year, it was at 70 cents. It's under 35 cents right now. And you have a major catalyst, which is the Chang hard fork, unlocking the decentralized governance. And, maybe it's a bias from going to the Rare Evo convention where we saw a lot of Cardano projects front and center showcased. It's the community's there. The narrative that it's a ghost chain and nobody's building on it, that's not true. Now, will there be a giant surge of retail that is building and using Cardano? That I don't know. I don't know if it'll get that surge of interest that we saw in 2021. But if there's any project out of the top 20 that I believe could see that giant run up of interest, it's Cardano. I think Ton might have seen its kind of top or its hay. It kind of seems to be pulling back now, at least with the sentiment, right? The founder of the Telegram being arrested, Ton network going down, Solana, as you mentioned, little overbought this year for the price that it is now. XRP, I think, is very promising, but I do think that a lot of their partnerships and a lot of the narratives that they are relying on to take them to the next level as far as price, I think those need time to materialize. So, out of the top 20, there's not a lot. BNB, just, I think that's not a thing this bull market, at least not with retail. And so the options are slim. I think Chainlink isn't the most beautiful pick either. Avalanche seems to be very reliant on Web3, and that's kind of taking a back seat. So,
what about Polkadot? They just sponsored Inter Miami.
So yeah, I think Cardano's my favorite play outside of Ethereum. I still think that Ethereum is probably your best bet.
That's the pick. It's Ethereum.
It is, but you want a little bit, if you want a little bit more of that upside, you want that 8x potential, I think that it's Cardano. I think that, a $2 Cardano, say in the next 6 to 8 months, would not shock me, right? I think that if it got to that back up to 70 cents.
That wasn't the question. Question was, when the markets pump, again, the next pump, which one of these 10 in the top 10 will bring you the biggest gain?
That's what I mean. It's Cardano. And Cardano's outside the top 10, right? Well, if you were to remove the stables there, it is in the top 10. But
for me, it's Ethereum.
I think Ethereum is the safest pick, right? I think Ethereum, you're gonna get a 2 to 3x. I think would confidently say that, and very little downside risk from where it is now. I don't think that you're gonna see a $1,800 Ethereum, so it's not like you're gonna lose out on your investment. But yeah, I agree. 2 to 3x return is kind of stamped in the book. But
I want to know what the chat thinks. Chat, you watching, when the markets rally again, out of the top 10, which altcoin will bring you the most gains? Throw your picks in the comment section. For me, it's Ethereum. Forrest mentioned Ethereum bottoming out against BTC. The price has been suppressed. Flows for the ETF have not been very good. I think it's only a matter of time before more people start to pay attention to Ethereum on Wall Street, on top of everything that is happening on the chain. As mentioned, 73% of the market share for RWA sector is on Ethereum, not layer 2s, the actual layer 1. And I just think Ethereum at $2,500. I think ETH is a massive steal. All right.
I do want to give a little love to the chat though. 270 people, not even 100 likes. Do you not like the show? Are you not entertained? Do you not believe that Bitcoin will get to 90,000 this month coming up? I believe so. Also, if you're new, say hello. We'd love to give you a little shout out, a little recognition. We have Jose Martinell, Crypto Nate, 55 Move, Ian Maxey, Scott R, Robert T, More Money, Driftman, Mick 1911, Cryptomaniac, Lucky Luke, and James Grattan, Adam 3210. To all of you, hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto. And Nick S.
Nick S. Some altcoin updates. Guys, it's official. The Genesis keys for Cardano are dead. They're dead. That's it. Voltaire is here, September 1st. The hard fork will be here. And just as a heads up to you guys, if you start trying to do stuff with Cardano on these centralized exchanges and you get these error messages, don't fear. As you can see here, Binance will temporarily suspend Cardano transactions for the network upgrade. You know, I discussed this in my video that I did on Cardano, and I'm curious to get your guys' opinions, right? Take a look at what Polkadot did, right? Polkadot took in a crap load of proposals to their DAO to spend money on marketing. A lot of people have looked at it and said, what the hell are you guys doing? Spending 400 grand on a logo change on CoinMarketCap, spending God knows how many millions of dollars to market with NASCAR, right? To sponsor a driver. Then you have this spending 400 grand, or I don't know how much they spent on this, but these are Polkadot logos on the Inter Miami MLS team. And so, which has brought a lot of discourse amongst the Cardano community that once their treasury reserve gets unlocked, around 1.5 billion ADA tokens, that current prices is around, what is that? About $500 million, right? All-time highs was around $4 billion. But are you worried in the short term as far as Cardano's price, once that treasury does get unlocked, that obviously we assume people get granted money from the treasury and ADA, they're going to sell it for dollars to use it on whatever they're spending it on, which will cause some sell pressure for the price of ADA. Do you believe they're going to go down the same path as Polkadot did, seeing extreme price suppression for a very long time? Take a look at where Polkadot has been. I mean, just pull up Polkadot. Look at the 1 year chart on Polkadot. It spiked up to $11, but it's literally been same exact price it was a year ago today. $4.21, September 1st, 2023, $4.26, August 30th of 2024. Do you see something similar happening here? Or Forrest, what are your thoughts on the whole situation with the Treasury and Cardano, and kind of, are we going to see something similar with what Polkadot's been going through?
Yeah. So in my opinion, I think it just comes down to like what the marketing dollars are spent on and how effectively they're spent. I think Polkadot, quite frankly, has done a pretty piss poor job on marketing and getting a return on that investment. What I mean is, like, they've been going with a very traditional like brand marketing campaign. Brand marketing, think like, okay, Toyota. What's another anything that has like any car brand, like anything that has a big brand that has an existing product, and it's like Doritos, right? They're just trying to get their brand in front of your eyes because maybe you'll go and make a purchasing decision based on that brand awareness later on. That makes no sense. That kind of marketing strategy, sticking your logo on a team's jersey, sticking your logo on at an airport, like no one sees the Polkadot logo and has no idea what it is, and then just becomes a Polkadot user. I think marketing dollars should be spent rather on brand awareness, should be spent on user acquisition. Yes. And I think Solana has done actually a really good job with that, as they spend a lot of money on hackathons and building and helping these projects on Solana get set up and then go and acquire users. Whereas I think Polkadot's just done the exact opposite. Polkadot thinks they're like they're Toyota or Adidas or Nike. They don't have like an existing like Nike can go and spend money on brand awareness because they're going to have a customer in a store where they sell their clothes with, after they see that Nike logo. Nobody, like, there isn't that doesn't exist for Polkadot. Like, when you see the Polkadot logo, there's no way for the average person that has no idea about crypto or Polkadot or Cardano or Solana to then go and choose Polkadot over Cardano and Solana. Like, so all this money that they're spending on putting their logo on a soccer team's jersey, it does not matter because the people that are seeing that logo are not actively consistently making decisions between Polkadot, Cardano, and Solana.
Right.
They just aren't. Like, they're not users to begin with. So I think you have to just focus on user acquisition. So if Cardano does that, then I think marketing spend can be worth it. If Cardano does not do that and they just go the Polkadot route of sticking their logo and paying for a logo change on CoinMarket, that's silly. It just does nothing. So user acquisition over brand awareness, and yes, I think they can do well.
I mean, it's pretty cool, right? I mean, it turns into like a flame.
Yeah.
So cool, man. Robin, what are your thoughts? And do you have faith in the Cardano faithful that they will not make the same mistakes that the Polkadot faithful made?
Well,
I think Forrest brings up some really good points, right?
yeah, and I think that there's a better approach to promoting your brand, especially when it comes to crypto. I think that if you promote within the channels of crypto, because you're not going to onboard somebody that has no idea on crypto and then have them join buy Polkadot and then use it in a smart contract way. I think that if you're going to bring awareness, it needs to come from somebody that at least has exposure to Bitcoin, right? Or at least maybe Ethereum, right? And so I think it's a reach to go out to the main public. It makes sense for companies like crypto.com, like Coinbase, to have, or KuCoin or Kraken. The exchanges make sense, right? Because then you get your brand out there. And then when it's time to onboard somebody, when someone's finally ready to go set up an account, they're like, all right, well, where do I first buy my Bitcoin? Where do I load money up to? That's when brand recognition makes a lot of sense. But I think you need to get the everyday person onto that ramp first before you get them onto Polkadot. And so I think that's a reach there. But I know I touched on this before. I think you're overblowing the treasury situation. And why do I say that is that Cardano has already been spending millions of dollars and perhaps billions, I don't know how much, on the chain's development already and the roadmap. And so I think it just changed. They're just changing where's the money coming from internally at IOHK and the Cardano Foundation. Instead of it being funded by them, now it's being funded by a treasury of unlocked tokens. Also, I was trying to find the dates. From my understanding, the unlock of the treasury doesn't happen till the latter stages of the Chang Har.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not expected till late 2025. And so if the Cardano hard fork happens now and you're not seeing the unlock till 2025, I don't even take it into account right now, right? If the treasury isn't unlocked until, over a year from now, or say a year from now, non-factor for me, bro. It's a non-factor. And even then, when that does happen, instead of IOHK footing the bill, it's the treasury. So I don't know. I know we talk about it every time we bring up Cardano. It's something that's so far away. It's not. I don't even know. I don't even know why we discuss. It's nothing, bro. It's nothing. It's a nothing burger. You know what's gonna bring people onto Cardano is the next badass DApp. The next group of users deciding to play in the Cardano ecosystem versus Ethereum or Solana or Ton, having some things that naturally bring people to us. Like, I think Doom Game was a great example. Hey, look, here's a game natively running on the Cardano blockchain, 30 frames per second, 30 transactions per second. That's pretty innovative. It's pretty cool, and it has a real use case that people can use, right? And then you can tie tournaments with smart contracts in there that pay out whoever wins the game. it makes sense, and you're applying that to something that people already use. And so for me, that's what's going to move the needle, not who's paying the bill for the developers. Who's giving the developer grants? Is it coming from the trust or is it coming from IOHK? And even when we get to that discussion, it's not till late next year. So for me, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'll be honest with you. The Treasury, cool. It's coming. Right now, don't give a damn. Right now, let's get some people onboarded. Let's get some fun dApps going.
The people have voted. Will we see a 90K Bitcoin in September? 66% of you said no. 33% of you said yes.
You're falling into my trap. You always move against the market. The smart money is cyclical.
Well, we know you ain't smart money. Forrest, before we let you go, my friend, if people enjoyed listening to you today, where can they find you? You're muted, Forrest.
I'm muted. Sorry. I try to live stream most days from the YouTube channel Sistine Research. I also have a Twitter or X profile at Sistine Research. I also have a website called Sistine.ai where you can join, get access to indicators, a community, as well as research that we put out. I will say research right now, because we've been in such a choppy, stale market, the focus has been much less on research recently, but indicators, community, all there, as well as YouTube and Twitter at Sistine Research.
Yeah. And that Sistine Research is the reason I got my first 100X in crypto. So thank you to that, Forrest. Also, Forrest was kind enough. If you guys do want some of those research and indicators, there is a discount for you guys for our Sin City Crypto community. There's a link in the description of this video. So make sure to post that. Any plans for the weekend? I know what you're doing. Forrest, any plans for the weekend?
I don't think so. I don't know. Talk to my wife here and see, but yeah, probably just gonna go out to dinner tonight. It's Friday night. But yeah, I don't think we have any
Those
major
are the best
plans.
weekends when you don't have plans. Anyways, that'll do it for the show today. We have a Caspa video dropping in about 55 minutes. What can we expect from Caspa with KRC around the corner? We give an important update on that and some price action on there as well. And with that being said, Rocco, going a little slower for you this time. You ready?
You play with fire, man.
You said I went too fast yesterday, so
You
I'm
jump
trying
from
to
the
help you.
sponsor to somebody and then they say goodbye. You know, you get these lapses.
He's like, Rocco, what do you think about the new Slurpee at 7-Eleven? And we're out.
Now I'm going to go slow. Okay.
Let's try this again. Rocco,
There we go.
thank you so much, guys, for tuning in.
Slow.
I know the price action has been choppy this week, but a lot of great information. Make sure to come back next week on Monday.
Timestamp today, 8:30.
Yeah,
Props
we
to
can-
Damas
we
has
can make
spoken.
fun of him.
90K around
We
the
can make
corner.
fun of him. Yeah, okay. Anyways, have a good weekend. We'll see you next week, too.
So every day stay tapped in. For big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I spit the game, but they gave it. Name the coin, it's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.